Hey guys, it's Ethan. This episode, we sit down with my friend Aldous Choi, who joins us virtually through a group chat on Google Hangouts. He is originally from Hong Kong and moved to Toronto for university. He is a classic menswear enthusiast. He's a vintage menswear enthusiast, which makes him interesting because we're able to talk about Drakes in the Armory, but also talk about, Clark Gable and Cary Grant and all that kind of shit. He doesn't have a big wardrobe like Spencer or me, but that's what makes him interesting for the second half of our conversation, which focuses on the concept of having a uniform within menswear. Are there specific pieces that you find yourself drawn toward? Is there, a particular style that you always dress as? Or do you literally have only 3 suits and 3 pants that you just alternate as needed and keep the decision making fairly simple? We discuss all of that on today's episode of Style and Direction. Hi guys, welcome to Style and Direction, a menswear podcast without the stuffiness. This is your host, Ethan Wong.
And I'm your other host, Spencer Oddie.
I like that dramatic pause you did there.
Thank you.
What was how did you approach that one?
I just thought of that joke where a bear goes into a bar and asks, and the bartender says, yes, and the bartender says, why the long pause? Wait, no, that's not how the joke goes.
Nope, that's not.
Look it up. It's a really great joke, guys.
Right.
Google bear long pause bar. Google that.
What if they look up bear long pause PAWS?
Well, that's the joke.
Oh.
Yeah, because so in the joke.
Explain comedy to me. Go ahead.
Okay, so comedy.
Right.
I mean, this is a kind of complex subject.
Wait, explain complex subjects.
Oh man, that's even more complex. There's so many facets to this.
What are facets?
It's like faucets.
Oh, like Sarah Fawcett.
Yeah.
There's just a whole bunch of her.
Yep.
I'm glad. So how's your day, Spence?
It was all right.
It was alt-right?
Nope. Not that. I had math, or I should say I had science, and then I had math, which, sorry to all you STEM nerds out there, but those are my 2 least favorite subjects. And
why would botanists be mad about that?
You're just really wild about puns today.
I'm a pun whore. I'm a pun head. There you go. I'm a pun head.
Yeah, okay.
I get mad pun.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Thanks. I'm proud of that one. I did not have any class today because I'm not a student anymore, unlike our guest who we'll get to in a second.
Ooh, teasing.
Teasing. I love teasing.
Who could it be?
But today was fine. I actually, so when we get new fabric in, we have to put them into the fabric books. And unlike, at school, if you hold on to your grades, you can just get like another book, another binder and put your files into it, right? Mm-hmm. But for these, these books have specific like numbers or, codes. And so you have to have all of that collection in one book. And so these books get very, very packed up, because we have a lot of fabric for each one. And only when it like runs completely out that they're not going to restock, then we cut it out. But that's like once a month, if that, And so I spent most of my day like having to figure out like how to put damn new fabrics into these books. And when it's like exploding out, it's really hard to kind of like hold it down. Like say you'll do one side, you try to do the other side, the other side will pop off, and it's like fuck. So it was
How often do you get new fabrics? Is this like a once a week thing?
I think that we kind of wait for it to kind of pile up. That way we all do it at once, because sometimes the books are loaded from the back. So if you get one for the front, you have to take everything out.
Okay.
So it's better to like make sure each one's got like like 20 or so, instead of just having to do this like every day or whatever.
This was such like a good like inside baseball conversation. Like we're learning how the sausage shirts are made.
Yeah, I love sausage shirts.
Okay, so what were you gonna ask me
Oh,
before I
I
started
want to say
talking
we're gonna
about
start a
Looney
new
Tunes?
segment on the podcast where we just talk about what we're wearing today. So Spencer, what clothes you got on?
What we should call this like what's the guy's name from State Farm or whatever
I don't know.
in the commercial? Okay, well here's what I have on right now. Pajamas. Um, it's 8:35 time of recording.
Uh-huh.
So I'm wearing my blue. They're navy with red and white window pane. Those are my pajama bottoms.
Wow, how all-American of you.
Right? I have a T-shirt for the newspaper that I write for on campus, and my sleepy time cardigan because it's pretty chilly tonight. But earlier today, I was wearing a J. Crew sweatshirt, jeans, and my bomber because it was also very chilly today.
Sounds like the bomb.
Thanks. I appreciate that compliment on my great outfit.
Oh, you're welcome, man. So I'm wearing what I consider to be pretty Ethan. I'm wearing like this brown with red check sack jacket. I know sack jacket sounds weird, but that's what I've been calling it.
I mean, that's what they are, right?
Yeah, sack jackets. It just sounds
Yeah.
funny to me. Like, what's up? Look at
does-
that cool sack jacket. Sack jacket. Yeah, see, it just sounds mildly vulgar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got like this Fair Isle cardigan, Fair Isle sweater going on.
I can't believe you call a sweater a
I
cardigan.
know, right? And then I've got I got light gray pants, and I'm wearing socks, but not shoes because I'm recording this in my room, and I don't want to wear
Nice.
shoes in my room. I'm not a
white guy.
white guy,
Like
yeah.
me?
So that's me. It's kind of
I
got,
always like it when your friends come over and they're like, "Oh, can you wear shoes in here?" And I'm like, "Dude, I wear shoes in my house all the time."
I wear it while I'm pooping. I mean, I think most people do that.
yeah.
Unless you're like in the bathroom, like your bathroom, you're probably gonna wear
Mhm.
shoes while pooping.
I'm looking at our guest's face on the cam
I'm
now.
not looking at it. I can't see Aldous on my end. So
Oh, did you just spoil it?
yeah, I just spoiled it. I guess. Well, we might as well jump into that now. Today we are joined by a man who needs no introduction.
Because there isn't that much to say
And
about
that's-
me, I suppose.
And that's it. No.
That's it.
So his name is Aldous. He
Yep.
is from the land down under, but the opposite, which is Canada. And
Nice.
he's
Yeah, nice try, but yes.
yeah. He's he messaged me a while back, like half a year ago, maybe at this point. No, maybe not even. Is that
When's the wedding?
how
We're
long
gonna have
ago
to,
was that? Aldous?
you're gonna have to court for longer than that, Spencer. I think.
I'm
apparently-
more of a hit and
I
quit
think
kind
it's
of
more
guy,
than
so.
half a year. I think we might be coming up on the year. Got an anniversary to
wow.
celebrate even. Yeah.
Oh
my
wow.
God.
There we go. Wait, is this like pre Facebook group and I guess pre my trip to London, I think,
It
right?
was definitely
'Cause-
pre-Facebook group because I remember being added to that and being one of the first maybe 10 guys
Right.
on there.
Right. Huh. Okay.
So
Well,
I've known you
so
for
that's-
quite a while even.
Right.
I like that we have like a system of measuring time that's like it's like before Battle of Yavin and after Battle of Yavin.
What a
where It's
nerd.
just like the Facebook group.
I think you might have to.
Yeah.
I think you might have to explain that to non-Star Wars people.
Oh, okay. So I've always thought this was pretty dumb because
you
if you look
mean?
at the larger canon of Star Wars, in the Battle of Yavin, what happened in the episode 4, and that is apparently how they measure years in Star Wars, even though it didn't really affect much in the long run.
Well, okay. So let me jump in there and say that it was the turning point for the rebellion. Okay, that's how it works. That was the
Okay,
official point when the rebellion was like a real thing.
Sure,
and we know
whatever.
that from Rogue One, right? Because that's what they.
Yeah.
They were like a bunch of Splinter Cell groups until that moment. But anyway,
We'll save that for our Star Wars.
there we go.
podcast.
Yeah, but so our term of our version of before Battle of Yavin is like before Facebook group, and
Yeah.
for those of you
And after
listeners,
Yes,
Facebook.
before and
listening.
after
Join
Street
it.
by Spretzer. Oh, the Street Express,
Exactly.
right? Yes.
Yeah, Street Espresso. You know, I was talking to my mom about this, and she was all like, "Oh yeah, like what's wrong with Street Sprezza?" And I'm like, "That's not even what it's called. Like, it's not. There's an X there." And she's like, "Oh, do you pronounce the X?" I'm like, "Yes." It's like again, we got into this, in the episode where we talk about the inception of the blog, I guess, but it's supposed to be like a collaboration, like Kanye West X, Adidas, or like that kind of shit. And so that's why it was called Street Espresso. It was like street wear with sprezzatura, which is no longer really that relevant, but that's just still the name. And plus, people can't pronounce sprezzatura anyway, so
But
or sprezza, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people actually, I've seen people like write out like Street Esprezzatura, and I'm like, that's not okay. Sure,
That's not what you are.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, we have a Facebook group for it. It's really poppin', and that's where Aldous and a whole bunch of other guys, like Andy from 2 episodes ago, all get to share pictures and talk about menswear, vintage menswear, and yeah. But me and Aldous have been kind of friends through the internet before that, which is kind of cool to me because the Facebook group is still kind of, I feel like it's new, but it's actually been around for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh God, yeah, like since the summer.
Yeah, exactly. I must have made it like right when I came back from my trip to Europe, or actually, well, just London and Paris. So it's not. It's,
I mean,
I
that
didn't
is
really
in
go through
Europe.
all of Europe. I mean, it is Europe, but
Yeah.
But yeah, Aldous is from Toronto. I mean, not originally, right?
Not originally, but I live there now and I study there.
Right. And you are a university student, as we alluded to earlier in the introduction.
Yes, I'm an undergrad at University of Toronto.
Oh, people are gonna stalk you now.
They're gonna look up.
All
Yeah, if they can
millions
narrow
of
down,
our
if they can
listeners.
find. Oh, actually, I have an interesting name, so it might not be that difficult. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I was about to joke. They're gonna just look that up, and I was like, "Oh, you're probably the only one."
Yeah,
there,
there might be one other. I think there is one other fellow of my name on Facebook, but that's it. So yeah, I'm
what's
gonna
the
be
story
stalked.
behind all? Yeah, you're gonna be stalked now.
Yeah,
What's the story
thanks.
behind like Aldous? Like, I mean, it's not that common of a name.
You don't say.
Is it like a like a family thing, or they just thought that your name was like super cool?
Well, the only family thing is that my father's name also starts with an AL. His name's Albert. Well, his English name anyway is Albert. So they chose. Basically, what they did is they got a book of names and they went through it, and their only caveat was that it started with A and L, and they chose they chose they just chose the most interesting one they could find. Really, nothing too romantic.
I mean it's a pretty cool name. Aldous is it's pretty classy, and I think you certainly live up to that.
Well, thank you.
To that name, yeah. I think the best name so far, and I'm supposed to come back up on this, is that there is a vintage guy whose name is Constantine Evans.
That's pretty good.
And that's a
Constantine, eh?
dope. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. It's
Yeah.
a dope name. And he is
it's a great name.
yeah, and he's like a professor or like a he goes to like Caltech or something. He's some super smart guy.
Caltech, yes.
Yeah, he's only a little bit older than we are, and he is like he's got like a PhD in physics or something. He is a genius. I haven't seen him in a while. I think I met him like when I first got into vintage. He's a really nice guy.
Here. We met him probably at the same event.
Yeah, it was one of Benny's things.
Right.
You said that with such ire.
Just one of
I'm gonna
Benny's
pretend like I know what that
things,
is.
yeah.
I'm just a big old dum dum.
Who doesn't even know what comedy is.
Nope, not even a little bit. So Aldous, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know that you said you moved to Toronto, but you're from Hong Kong originally.
Yes, I was born there, and I spent the early years of my life there. Most people from Hong Kong don't sound the way I do. The reason why I sound the way that I do is because I went to international schools there. So these were private schools. They were staffed by English teachers for children of English expats still living and working in the former colony. And
So do all of your friends sound like you?
now, here's the thing, not necessarily, because
Okay.
we had factions, if so to speak, within the school that
Like
I
Rebellion
went to.
versus Empire?
No, like we had a bunch of we had Australians. We had a group of Australians there. We had some
Oh,
Americans.
that's fun.
We had some
Oh, wow.
Brits, and depending on who you hung out with, you ended up sounding
Uh-huh.
more like one country as opposed to the other. So
That's
Do they adopt like the mannerisms and like kind of general attitude as well? Because I think that would be a lot of fun.
I think I've adopted general attitude. So yes, I think the assimilation was fairly
like
complete.
stiff upper lip and everything.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh wow. This is like a cool like sociology anthropology thing going on here.
Yeah, I love Anthropology. It's my favorite store.
You know, I spent a lot of my time in that store because my mom loved.
I've never set foot in Anthropology.
I don't
do
think
not
I
know
ever
what
set
kind
foot
of
in
stuff they sell.
anthropology either. Yes.
Have you set foot in an Anthropology class?
Anthropology
Nope.
class? No,
Not me.
not even as an elective.
Wow.
Neither have
Yeah.
So do you think that going to international school definitely played a part in how you dress? I know that we'll get into how exactly how you dress in a second, but in general, you like classic menswear. You have a little bit of appreciation for vintage menswear. In fact, you own some vintage pieces. But did going to like international school again like that hone your interests? Because I went to a Christian private school, but we had uniform, and it made me hate wearing polo shirts and khakis that were probably more polyester than cotton. So it took me a while to kind of get back into that. So, yeah.
Well, right. Well, I don't think we had to wear a uniform too, and in Hong Kong the uniform
okay.
was yeah, it was a white poly shirt, short
Nice.
sleeved, and grey shorts. Also poly.
Oh, at least you got to wear shorts.
Yeah, because it's hot in the
I
summer
love
in Hong Kong.
shorts.
It's
They're
hotter than
comfortable.
hell.
They're so comfortable and easy to wear.
Yes.
That's a quote from Pokemon.
What's the style like in Hong Kong? I mean, obviously, you are 20 something,
21.
24? 21. Oh, well, shit. I'm totally wrong on that. And I feel like we talked about this the last time. Spoiler note, we recorded an episode of this a few times ago, but then we decided to try a new format, and
Yeah.
and so that episode is lost to time. But
You're never gonna
Right.
hear
yeah,
it.
he did say his age on that one, and I totally forgot.
Oh, that's
To
fine.
To be honest, you're not missing much with the last episode, so
Right.
don't worry about it.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, we spent
I
most
mean,
of the time
Hong
talking
Kong is
about-
very hot, right? It's like humid and
Yeah, humidity
hot.
is the key. Humidity is the key. It's a real killer as far as
Right.
putting on layers is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So your
So,
question was,
do people
what's the
dress
style
up?
like in Hong Kong?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the armory's there, but when I was growing up, I don't think it exists. I don't think it existed, and for the most part, Hong Kong's rather casual. Yes, it's a hub for international tailoring, and we have you trip over tailors in some places, but they all cater to either an international crowd or the banking and finance crowd. Regular guys don't wear suits, jackets, even unless they can't help it. The climate just really doesn't suit wearing layers more than a t-shirt.
You might say it doesn't suit wearing a suit.
Yes, exactly.
So, nice. So if like the weather doesn't really, make it comfortable to wear wear layers, do you know historically how and when it kind of became like a hub for tailoring?
Yeah, because
And,
I
like,
mean, yeah, the WW Chan is there. The Armory has 2 shops there. Ascot Chang, I think, has like 3. I think in Hong Kong. So it's I guess in like the past like 30 years or so, or maybe even before that.
Yeah, well, because Ascot Chang started in the 50s,
Yeah, definitely
right?
before that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the
Okay.
long runners there have been around since
And
the 40s
and I like to
50s.
point out that like there was one time when I was at Benny's and he had like a great like a I don't know, it's like a bluish green like teal like double-breasted suit which fit perfectly. I guess back then, this is like 4 years ago, but it was made in Hong Kong, and I was very surprised that it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
So like when do you know when it kind of took off for tailoring, and did
I'm
because I mean it was a big like a trading town,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Right.
It was a free trade port, so yes, a lot of goods are moved through there, and a lot of travellers moved through there as well. Well, the tailors in Hong Kong, I think they've been around forever. I've seen examples of
That's true.
not in Hong Kong, but I've seen on eBay. I think there was a tailcoat from the 30s, tailored in Hong Kong, in Kowloon.
Wow.
That's the oldest Hong Kong garment I've seen. There's a lot of stuff floating around from the 60s. Most of it tiny, unfortunately, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It started for expats, for foreigners working in Hong Kong. I don't think it was anything to do with the local population. It was just
That
catering,
makes sense.
It was just catering entirely to the English ruling elite.
Right.
And as a result, I think tailors in Hong Kong, for the most part, they don't really have much of a sense of style. They were just workers. Englishmen would go to them and say, "This is a jacket I had made in Savile Row. It's months away now, so can you make me a copy of it or something inspired by it?" And we would follow through with that and sew something together, and eventually got good at that, good at following instructions and copying things. But we never really developed a sense of style, a town style, so to speak. Of it was just a lot of copying.
Right, so it's not like, going to Naples and having a Neapolitan suit, or going to, well, I guess Savile Row and getting an English suit. It was just kind of whatever they happened to come across.
Yes, and I suppose most of the things they happened to come across, and we're talking about 50s and 60s and 70s.
Right.
Here. Most of the stuff that they came across would have been English, obviously. It was a
That
colony.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that
So
makes
if Hong-
sense.
So if Hong Kong does have a style, it's English. It's vaguely English.
Interesting.
Maybe American as
So-
well, because we had a fair share of Americans hanging around too.
Right.
Being in sack suits.
Right. So, what do you wear when you I'm sure you go back to Hong Kong.
Yes.
Often, right? Or your family or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what do you find yourself wearing there? Now that you're kind of into menswear.
Well, I don't have much of a summer wardrobe, so to speak of, so for the most part I just bum around in casual wear. T-shirts, shorts. I have a Spari jacket that I throw on, keeps my keys and things in. I'd like to get some
Right.
frescoes.
Don't we all?
Yeah. Fresco suits, I mean.
Well,
Yeah, not the painting.
We,
The painting would be nice too, I suppose, but yes, fresco suits, I'd like to get some, but I only got one at the end of this summer, so I haven't been able to put it to use yet.
Damn. Wait, that's the copy of a Palm Beach suit, right?
Yes, I got my hands on some oatmeal, I suppose it is. It's not very cream.
I love
but,
oatmeal.
Yeah, oatmeal. We'll just go with that. Oatmeal fresco cloth, and I had a friend of mine make me a jacket and trousers, inspired by a 20s Palm Beach suit, late 20s Palm Beach.
I can't
suit.
wait to see it. I feel like that was such a long time ago when you posted that whole thing.
I really want to see that too. Did he post it on the Facebook group?
Not yet.
No, I haven't.
Not
it was
yet.
pre-Facebook group. I think that's.
Oh,
I think
my
he shared it
God.
on like Vintage Menswear or like the
I think you
F-Style
shared
forum.
on Vintage Menswear.
I shared
Yeah.
I shared your post of you wearing the Palm Beach one, and then I said that you were gonna buy it even though it's kind of tattered in order to reproduce it, which I mean summer can't come fast enough.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Summer
'cause
can't come enough.
I can't stop coming.
I knew we
nice.
turned
So-
sexual at some
so-
point, but yes.
Oh my!
It's not the kind of podcast, but it happens.
We got to work on the crosstalk, guys.
It's like a musical, people just sing on top of each other. Am I right?
Yep. We're just Les Mis, the podcast.
There we go.
So when did you first get into menswear? Because Ethan kind of was like, now that you're into menswear, so clearly you weren't born with the menswear bug.
No, is anyone actually born with a menswear bug?
No.
I mean, my parents dressed me up and stuff, but I wasn't born with it.
Yeah, what's with this trend of 90s parents dressing their kids up in really frilly outfits? Bow tie suspenders, that sort of thing.
The fact that you say that was like, that can't be a thing, but I think about it and I'm like, no, that definitely was a thing. I think it's because like the explosion of Ralph Lauren of the time, like 80s and 90s.
Because wait, I have like, I did when I was a baby, I did like a photo shoot of me and like with like an old timey bike or whatever in black and white.
Uh-huh.
Maybe that's how I got into vintage.
I mean, my dad. Oh, also like Armani. Like my dad would wear an Armani tie. I don't know what if he was able to afford the suits, but I think that whole thing of like looking good, and the proliferation again of Ralph Lauren advertisements, probably was like, hey, let's have our babies dress up real nice and real preppy looking. So maybe that's why. But go ahead. You were talking about you're getting started with it.
Yeah. Well, I have a shot of myself in just to finish round off this point of really pretty baby pictures. I have a shot of myself in a bow tie, white shirt, and teddy bear suspenders. So.
Hell
That's
yeah.
pretty dope. That's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
I'd wear teddy bear suspenders right now.
Right.
With your pajamas.
Yep.
Right. But the question was how I got into menswear in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, it only really started once I moved to Canada. I came here for high school. I was originally only,
Okay.
Yeah. I was originally supposed to come for university, but I got here early, and just to acclimatise, I suppose. And I only started here because here the climate really allows for you to put on the jacket reasonably. And
I mean, it makes sense. It's Canada.
yes,
Yeah.
and I started by watching old films. Actually, I think I have a very similar path towards menswear as a lot of people in the vintage community, which is to say, I've always enjoyed big band era swing music, and from that I started watching films, and from watching films I was captivated at first by the style of Fred Astaire. I was obsessed with white tie, actually. That was the first. Yeah. So yeah, I started at the top, man, not at the bottom.
Oh,
And-
that's right. That's right. You said
Yeah,
your
the first vintage
thing
piece you ever
got.
bought was white tie, and you said it like fit perfectly.
Yeah, that's why.
right
yeah,
out
that's
the
why I
box,
got
right?
it for the most part. I didn't own
I
didn't own a suit at that point in time, but I found white tie in a
I-
vintage store and got it.
Can't.
And I mean, you told us that he had like you've worn it out a few times, so you've gotten your money's worth.
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean,
When did you wear it?
Well, I wore it to prom. I think that was the first time I wore it properly.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty baller, dude.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, the University of Toronto has waltzes in February, Valentine's waltzes in Hart House, and I've put it on for that. Inappropriately, but I put it on for that.
I mean, fuck it, right? Like,
Yeah, fuck the police, right?
Exactly.
I love it. I love it.
That's what I've been saying.
I've always wanted to hear "fuck the police" from like a British accent, but like not like in a Cockney way, just like in a fuck the police. Am I right?
Yes,
like just
fuck the
very
police.
proper.
That was the weakest. Like
I know.
you did not commit to the accent
I did
at all.
not. And normally I love doing accents, so that was a kind of a sad moment for me.
Is it just because like Aldous is here and you feel like
Yeah.
he'll judge you?
Yeah, like when I was in London with Buzz, who is another young vintage enthusiast who is also from Hong Kong, and also has a British accent. Yeah, I could not be that funny around him because I felt like I was gonna offend him or something, or just be like a typical American, just trying to make fun of British people, which is only half true.
Yeah, asking us to say if we'd like a cup of tea and that sort of thing.
Tomato.
Well, would you?
Yeah. Tomato,
Yeah.
tomato, potato, yeah. As the old song goes.
Exactly. But so when you were creating your, your wardrobe, I guess, did you start off like completely vintage? Like I'm gonna get 30s Fred Astaire style jackets and whatnot.
Oh.
Or did you start to like kind of go? Like when did it transition from vintage into classic menswear? I should say.
Right. Well, I should start off by saying there wasn't really a vintage phase. There would have been if I'd lived in LA, but you guys have it.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have it lucky with the vintage stores you have over there. There's just so much stuff. Everyone retired and took their stuff to Los Angeles. It seems there's nothing in Toronto. So what I'm trying to say is, if I had the opportunity to build a vintage wardrobe, I probably would have. The first things I snapped up included bold look ties, for instance, and fedoras, that sort of thing.
Bold look ties. Yikes.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said bolo ties. I'm like, that's
No, I don't.
interesting.
Never had a
look.
bolo tie, and I don't think I ever will. Bold.
Yeah,
with
can
a
you
D look
imagine
tie, I guess.
the British accented man from Hong Kong who goes to school in Toronto, Canada, wearing a bolo tie?
I just googled formal bolo tie to see what it looks like with a tailcoat.
And did it
And it-
disappoint?
No, it looks amazing.
Oh my god.
That's the only type of tie I'm gonna wear from now on.
Right.
Oh, jeez. But so you got bold look ties. But I know you have a pretty impressive fedora collection, and just
Yeah.
our hat collection in general.
Stacks and Toronto's always been a rather conservative city. Men have only had maybe one or two suits, maybe one hat, and then they wore to death. So there are lots of really beat fedoras in Toronto that you can pick up for a song. So I have a lot of hats, but most of them are beat beyond recognition. I use them for experiments.
Do you actually, given the climate of Toronto, I imagine you actually get some like practical wear out of the hats. Is that like, do you? I mean, how it definitely snows up in Toronto. I
yeah,
know that
it definitely
for sure.
snows up here, mate.
So do you?
Do I
so
wear?
do you wear?
Do
Do
I
you
wear
wear
pajamas?
hats?
Yeah, yes, I try. I really
Oh
like.
man, I could have led into that one way better.
Oh well, it was an effort, and we all got the point there.
Yeah.
Yes, I do try to wear my hats as often as I can. I really like the look of them. I really like the way they're a form of personal expression in the way that no other hats can sort of match. You start with an open crown and you bash it the way you want. I really like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I find them difficult to wear. They strap.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they strap.
Because I was
because-
the point that I was trying to make is I imagine they would be much easier to wear if it was like actually like, oh, it's snowing, I'm wearing a hat because it's, you know,
Fucking
it's
snowing.
like help protecting me from the weather. But is that not necessarily the case? Is it still kind of like weird in Toronto?
You're definitely onto something, Spencer, in that, yes, the fact that everyone at some point will be wearing some sort of headgear makes it a bit easier. It's not like wearing Los Angeles, I suppose, where it's always, I imagine, the equivalent of summer here over there. That's makes it a bit more odd. But here it's cold, you need a hat anyway. But still, there's an oddness in why did you choose a fedora as opposed to
Yeah.
a beanie or a toque, or there are a lot of guys wearing flat caps. I think that's the standard business hat here these days.
Well, I think that flat caps are like the easiest one to wear. Like it's more, it's similar to a beanie that it kind of just hugs the top of your head, but it's still got the brim, I guess, for formality's sake.
Right.
And so I guess it makes it, a good transitional thing of like a guy who wants to wear a beanie, but he wants to be dressed up.
Yeah.
I'm writing an article on beanies, or I call it the knit cap. So
We call them
I'm kind of
toques
just
here.
reiterating. Right? Yeah. And,
I knew
I'm
that
half
from Nathan
Canadian,
for you.
so technically I can call them toques too. So
Right. Well, yeah, we all talk about the same thing.
yeah. See, but yeah, that's really it's really interesting because I do wish I have like a very modest fedora collection here. Which when I say modest, but there's like 4 of them.
Yeah, dude, I have like 3 and only one of them fits. So
yeah, and so like I can't really. I wish I could wear them, but again, I feel like I can't.
it's too costumey. It pushes in the realm of
like
costume.
if I was older, maybe if I had like a beard, like Ethan Newton again, I think would look. If I could be like have his gravitas, I guess, which I think Spencer does. I think Spencer can probably pull off a fedora better than I can, especially when he there's sometimes when he just tries on a fedora when he's in my room and I'm like, it looks really good on Spencer. I wish I looked like that because I feel a little self-conscious.
I wish I was bald and out of shape.
Well,
Right.
but yeah. So to get back to your style, what do you find yourself wearing now? Like, I know there are some times when you do find a vintage piece and you get to tailor it, you alter it to kind of be a bit more contemporary, as like Spencer and I do. We remove shoulder pads or we take it in or whatever.
Right.
But now with your interest in menswear, what do you find that your style is? Like, describe it to us.
Right. My style is, I suppose if I had to narrow it down to one particular category, it'd be ivy more than anything. But it's not
Nice.
pure ivy. I don't live off of single vented, hook vented jackets and no darts, that sort of thing.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, my jackets have got darts. I like double vents. I don't like single vents. But for the most part, it's a lot of tweed or tweedy looking jackets, suits,
Hell
crew
yeah.
necks,
Dope.
That's
button
my thing.
bands. Yeah, flannel button bands because it's cold. It's cold as hell here in the winters. Grey flannels, penny loafers. Yeah, boots in the winter, of course. That sort of thing.
So what were you wearing earlier today? You can get in.
Yeah.
What are you
We're
wearing?
like half an hour
segment.
too late, but
Right. Yeah, well, I like Spencer in pajamas because it's past midnight now.
Nice.
Because
It's a PJ party.
yeah,
Except
Still
for
kind-
Ethan, you're not invited.
No.
right. I'm still kind of ivy though. I've got a UT crew neck on university crew neck.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
Classic Ivy.
Yeah,
you
great.
know, repping your school.
Yeah, the last time I was in class, that was for an exam. I was wearing this over button down actually, so I do. It's my pajamas. It also doubles as a proper sweater going out. But early today I was wearing something different. I had a blue. I'm gonna say Donegal tweed, but it's not quite. It's Donegal in the sense that it's headed, but it's not a. Anyway, it's a headed jacket. I was wearing a headed jacket with a light grey crew neck sweater over a grey gingham button down, and I had grey flannels on. And loafers, penny loafers, because it's now warm enough and there's no snow on the ground, and I can wear loafers again.
That sounds pretty damn solid.
Yeah.
I find it hard for me to wear sweaters with tailoring, just because I feel like I'm covering up my tie and everyone.
And you want everyone to see your tie.
Well, I mean, striped shirts and patterned ties. Am I right, guys? Like that's how I live my life. But I am wearing a sweater today.
Yeah, V-necks. You're
So.
fine.
Yeah, I mean, my issue with most V-necks today is that I feel like it's not deep enough, and like the ribbing on the V
Yep.
isn't wide enough, so like
Yep.
it looks too modern. You know what I mean? Like you look at like ones from H&M or Banana Republic, and like the ribbing on the V is like so thin, it's kind of like a T-shirt, and it's so form-fitting. I like a fitted sweater, but not like, I don't know. It just
Not
modern
spandex
ones
type,
don't do it
yeah.
for me. Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's not as flattering.
Right.
But dang, that's a pretty cool. I mean, I like to think I dress a little bit of Ivy, well, more 1930s Ivy, I guess, than anything.
Right.
Um,
I guess for me I'm 50s Ivy. So my lapels aren't 60s narrow. They aren't 30s wide though. And
I
my
love
jacket,
wide.
yeah. I know you do, man. But it's hard to come by here unless you get
Right.
ATM.
So on that note,
let's stop pussyfooting around.
let's talk about Spier and Mackay, because
Right.
Okay.
that's a big like you
S&M,
mentioned, made
let's
to
talk
measure.
about
Yeah,
S&M.
exactly.
You want to go
Oh,
over
I love that.
Yeah.
BDSM, let's go.
Yeah. let's talk
Because
about S&M, yeah.
like we touched on this earlier. Like you said, that there's not a lot of opportunities for you to wear vintage or find vintage in order to wear it. And I know you have you've got like an overcoat that's vintage, right?
Yeah,
or
most of
something
my
like that?
overcoats, are vintage. I think that's the one good thing about this vintage picking in the city is that we're not short on overcoats. I mean, guys need them,
Let's see.
and you can find a pretty decent 32-ounce overcoat here. Not too hard at all.
And what other pieces of vintage tailoring have you picked up? Because we'll talk about Spier Mackay, I guess, in a second, but let's talk a little bit about the kind of the vintage pieces that you do have.
Right. Not a lot actually. The overcoats that I mentioned.
Right.
I've got a grey top coat. It's got raglan sleeves, it's a herringbone tweed, fake tweed,
Nice.
sort of thing. I've got a charcoal grey greatcoat. That one's heavy as hell. That's 32-ounce wool, I think, double-breasted. And I've got a barleycorn, sort of light brown, I suppose, overcoat from the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And I rotate between those guys.
What about in terms of jacketing and suiting?
I've only got one.
Yeah, because I mean, you said earlier that there's not really like a vintage scene in Toronto, right?
No, because you just can't find enough stuff. You can't develop. You can't
Right.
develop a vintage lifestyle. It just doesn't. The pieces just don't exist. You have to make do with modern pieces. For the
But
most
there
part.
I think you mentioned this the last time we tried to record this, but there is a swing dance scene, right, or something like that.
Yeah, there's a swing dance scene pretty much everywhere these days. And yes, Toronto
that's
has one.
true.
But Toronto swing dancers, for the most part, they're just regular guys. There's no vintage.
They just
aspect to
dance.
it.
They just like the music and they
Yeah,
dance.
they just
They're not
dance.
really into. Okay.
There
that
may
makes
be one or
sense,
two
that makes
guys
sense.
who are vintage inspired, but they're not. They're not trying to emulate a particular era. They're just
Right.
vaguely vintage with the suspenders and
Mhm.
haskets, I guess.
So I know that, but your vintage jacketing. I know you've got like a 30s,
Yes.
a 30s DB or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So I figure all this stuff you just got on eBay or whatever.
No. I actually haven't bought. I don't think I've ever bought anything vintage off eBay. ever.
You should.
Yeah, I actually
Try
no,
it
I shouldn't.
sometime.
I think my wallet will thank me for it. But yes, I have a DB Blazer from 1937 I picked up here. That's the only true. You call that true vintage or golden era vintage? What's the term you use for it?
Well, golden era is more 1920s to 1940s, and I say true vintage for anything pre-60s. So it's like a sack jacket. I would say, oh, I've got a true vintage sack jacket, but then I could be like, oh, I've got a 30s 3-roll-2 sack jacket, like golden era. So that's
Right.
how I use them.
Right. That's the only. Well, there's that jacket. That's the only thing I have from the 30s. That's a jacket, and it's wearable. Day-to-day life. The tailgate's from the 30s, I suppose, but I can't exactly wear that regularly.
I mean, you could.
I could, but I like having friends.
That's
Rude.
pretty solid.
Well, yeah. If I showed up to lectures wearing a evening tailcoat, that's quite odd. That's gonna be quite odd, fellas.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna.
That's not gonna work.
You're gonna be that
it's not gonna
guy.
go over
It's
well,
gonna be
yeah.
like the guy at my school that wears a stormtrooper helmet to class.
Oh my
That
god.
happened for you.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone should do their thing, but a little bit of social fluency, I guess,
Grace.
or awareness.
Yeah.
Should
Awareness of
is-
social
yeah.
graces.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, going back on track. I only have one 30s jacket. It's a DB Blazer.
Okay.
As far as stuff I've had vintage, I have 2 tweed jackets, not golden era, probably pretty classically cut, but probably 70s and 80s. Dark brown herringbone and a light brown handstool for a window pane overcheck, and that's all I really have of vintage. I purged my wardrobe last year, at the beginning
Oh,
of
wow.
last year. It was all vintage, but it was a mismatch of things I found here and there, mostly 70s, 80s stuff that was as classic as it could be, and I was never happy with it. So I thought, you know what, just clear the racks. I'm going to start new with Spier Mackay actually, and we'll get into that later, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Next, actually.
But
yeah, I cleared it
I
and
think
started afresh, and I've only kept a handful of vintage things, stuff I really like or just can't replace.
I think this is a good time to get into the actual topic of the episode.
Well-
Roughly 40 minutes in,
Well,
but we.
I wanted to talk about Spier Mackay first.
Oh, I figured we could talk about that within the context of the thing. But let's just introduce Spier.
yeah, let's do that, because we're probably gonna take a break after we do this part. So
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about Spier Mackay. I know that some guy. I think I knew about them before you before you told me about them, and I know Kelvin, I think, also mentioned it to me. But I think from like Style Forum and some other guys on Male Fashion Advice.
Yeah,
which
they
is
have a page
subreddit.
on Style Forum that's pretty popular.
Yeah,
Quite
yeah,
following.
and they're like a Toronto-based, made-to-measure menswear company.
Yeah, you want to be specific.
And I think
Mississauga
it's-
based, so northwest of the
Oh.
city, like an hour northwest of the city. But yes, the
Sure.
Greater Toronto area. So I've never been to the
That's-
head office
yeah.
because I don't have a car and it would take me hours. Yes. So I guess I should talk a bit about Spier Mackay.
Yeah,
I'm
tell
not a
us all
rep
about
for them,
it.
but I'll try my best.
Mm-hmm.
I think they started about 10, maybe just under 10 years ago in Mississauga. They're ready-to-wear and made-to-measure operation. Ready-to-wear makes up the majority of their business. They started out in shirts and shirting. Their shirts are made in India, and they branched out to tailored clothing, jackets, suits, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Those are made in China. Same place that Suit Supply makes their suits, actually, from what I've heard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A different corner of the same
more
factory.
you know.
Yes, and
Interesting.
I think they provide the most, as far as value for money is concerned, I think they provide the best MTM service in the city. They're not fantastic,
how
but
much
they're
is it?
a
Yeah,
good
how-
balance. I think you could probably get a very basic MTM suit for about 6 to 7. I've never gotten the most basic, so I can't comment directly on this.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
not a basic bitch, so.
And so,
I
and
just
so
never
you
liked
said
flat
it's
Ulsters,
like the
you know?
but
Just shiny business suits. I never had a need for that.
Right, I don't blame
the
you.
thing.
I wouldn't get that either.
Yeah.
You said it's like the best bang for your
Bang for your
buck
buck, yes.
in the city.
So wait, hold on.
How
Six
many?
to 700
Are
Canadian?
you about to buy one?
6 to 7 Canadian, yeah. I'm guessing.
That's
I
like
really don't know.
500.
I know what I pay for the stuff. I guess I'm just trying to create levels below that. So this is a very tentative figure here. Here, don't quote me directly.
Right.
But how many different options for kind of made to measure stuff is there in the city?
Their main competitors would be Suit Supply, their made to measure program.
Okay.
I'm sure Indochino was there too.
Right, and then we have a major department store, menswear department store here called Harry Rosen's. They have an MTM service, but that's in a completely different price bracket. But that's the only other MTM I can think of. They make their suits with Samuelson. You might have come across some of their stuff. It does travel far. And Samuelson suits are 1,500, 2,000. So it's not in the same price bracket, but it's the only other MTM I can think of in the city. There's not much here.
Dang.
Well, so how did you first discover Spier Mackay? Was it just like it's one of those things where you automatically kind of find it when you're into menswear and living in Toronto?
Yeah. Yes.
No, that was it. Yeah, go on.
Yes. I think I was just searching around in Google, really. Stumbled across their website. I don't have a Star Form account, so I didn't find them out through there. I just stumbled across their website, I think. And I liked what I saw there. They were in their formative stages at the time. This was probably 4 years ago. And they were still in Mississauga, so I couldn't travel out there. But I liked the stuff, and when I heard they were opening up a Toronto store, I was there the first week, actually. And I've been there ever since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because last time you said that, like, they know you over there, right? Like, you're buddies with those guys.
The whole management knows who I am, for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
From cheaper operations down. It's actually pretty funny at this point.
Is that because like you just visit them all the time, or because you've been ordered? I mean, a lot of your wardrobe is from them too, right?
Almost entirely. My wardrobe is almost. Yeah, every modern suit I have is from Spier Mackay.
Well,
Hot damn.
Do you favor like a specific cut that they make, or do you just have kind of like
Or like, why don't you tell us also about like the customizations that they offer?
Yeah.
And attention, this is not a sponsored post for Spier and Mackay. This is just us being curious because we don't have one down here.
But if you guys want to, narrow casting a little
There we
bit,
go.
but that's okay.
Right. Well, Spier Mackay doesn't have a specific list of stuff you can do and can't do with MTM.
So that means it's all on the table.
Theoretically, it's all on the table, but of course...
It's on the table.
Yeah.
I want a belt back, please. Thank you very much.
You know, one of the sales associates wants to do that at some point, and it's all on the table, so...
Oh my god.
Oh my god,
I mean-
I think I know where I'm going now.
Yeah,
Toronto?
Toronto, baby.
whether they can do
Here
it
we
is a
come.
different story, though. They will try. That's all I can say.
But
And that's all you could ask for.
like, I mean, you've told us that you've been able, or you've attempted to, make the lapels wider or lower the notch placement as well.
Yeah, lapel widening is it's worked for me. The standard lapel width is, I think, 3.25, maybe 3.5 for some. And
That's not bad.
The MTN that I have got, I've had them widen it to 4 inches, and yeah, they turned out well.
Nice.
Also, when they widen it to 4 inches, they drop the gauge as well, just as a consequence
Like
of
just
moving to a
naturally,
different
just
lapel
like,
shape.
or
Yeah.
just like it came with it. That's pretty.
Just
damn
naturally
cool.
they drop the gauge. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I guess maybe they thought it would look better because modern lapels now have like gorges that are like flying off the top of your shoulder, man.
right.
Like
Then-
it's
Where are you going, Gorge? Come on.
yeah, it's a
Right.
very 70s type of thing, I guess.
So the gauges aren't as low as the gauges on your jacket, even, or on Spencer's jacket in his profile picture. But they're decent.
And I think we're both wearing like 70s jackets, so
Yeah,
that's-
yeah.
I mean, but like the good 70s ones, like because there are some that are like way up here.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Brooks Brothers, right? Yours. So it's. they
Yeah,
stay
I'm
pretty
wearing a
true.
Brooks Brothers sack jacket.
Yes, very sexy term.
Just
that.
saying.
Thank you.
Can you give us
ASMR.
some AS? Yeah, I was about to say.
Oh yeah, let me give you some ASMR. Let me just ruffle some stuff around the microphone and say sack jacket. I think our listeners will like that very much.
We should do an entire ASMR episode where we just whisper.
Yeah, and we like cut hair or something.
Yep.
But and so again, I just want to reiterate that the price is like very reasonable because I think Indochino is like 400, but you don't get to do a lot of customizations. I mean, you can't change like the leg opening, obviously. I mean, I've had success, increasing the rise, but like the legs are so damn skinny that luckily they had enough in there to make, to be more comfortable, at least where I want it.
Right. I forgot about Indochino. Indochino has a presence here too, but I don't think they're in the same ballpark as Spier Mackay or Suit Supply.
Right. I think that Indochino is like the fast fashion version of it.
Right.
But what about the ready? I mean, do you all of your stuff made to measure? Or do you have some ready to wear options?
The suits that I use most often from them, they call them the merino tweeds, so they have a dongle sort of look to them, but they're still rough, but they're a lot smoother, more business-like, I suppose would be a word for it.
Okay.
And I have all the ones they made actually. They pumped out a brown one, a grey one, and a blue one.
Just pumping.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's if you having like a minimalist wardrobe, that's all the suits you need, my dude.
That is all the suits I need. I've rotated through them, odd trousers and jackets. I've taken the trousers from the grey, the jacket from the blue, worn that as an outfit. I've taken the brown jacket and grey trousers, worn that as an outfit. Grey jacket, blue trousers, worn that as an outfit. Yes, I've lived off those 3 suits for the past 4 or 5 months now.
And we'll get into that after the break, but I mean, I think now I've got like 5 brown suits. No, that can't be right. Well, maybe not. I've got like 5 blue suits, and I don't have any gray suits. And I feel like I need to do that. There was a Suit Supply suit I put on my Instagram story that I'm kind of considering, but I don't have the money for it.
I think I should talk about. We started out by talking about the customization that Spier Mackay can offer.
Yeah.
And I
Go
think
ahead.
a good way of going about it is just to describe what jackets I've gotten MTM and how that differs from the standard jackets.
Mm-hmm.
So the standard jackets, lightly padded shoulders, not Italian, no pleasing at the sleeve heads, 3.5, 3.25 inch notch lapels, jetted flat pockets, double vents. The jackets I've been getting, I've widened the lapels by 1/2 inch. I've added patch pockets, 3 patch pockets, a breast patch pocket and 2 side patch pockets.
Always good. I love that.
Me too.
Yeah, quarter.
That was so wistful, but it's just because I don't have enough triple patch pocket jackets.
Right.
They are really great.
Right.
Yeah.
Quarter lining. Course lining. I've gotten extra pockets here and there on the inside. On 2 more on the insides of the jackets, and I've got coin pockets on the trousers.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty. I mean, that sounds like a lot of customizations.
Yes, and as we said earlier, everything is theoretically on the table. Whether they can do it or not. I mean, the more you add to it, the less likely it is to happen correctly all at once.
Right, because you said that you've tried to do some stuff and they didn't come out quite right.
Right.
Do you want to give us some examples of that, or do you not want to
I have
have any bad blood?
No, I doubt they're listening. I doubt they're listening into this anyway.
Okay.
No one listens to this.
No, it's an LA podcast, right? These are Toronto guys.
Yeah.
I meant it that way. Not. I wasn't making a jab at your audience.
At our limited listenership.
Right.
We'll get there.
Well,
yeah. So what went wrong?
Nothing.
How do they wang it?
I mean, remember that brands only get better when people bring up what's wrong with it. So I'm just saying.
Yes, I can't actually speak too much. I've been pretty lucky with them, so I can't speak too much about that. But if you ever have Kelvin Wang on, or maybe Zane Lim, they don't. Let's say
and we probably will eventually.
Yeah, they don't like Spier Mackay, so they can probably dish the dirt.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we're having this circle jerk for them on this episode then.
Right. The worst that's come out is sleeves have been. much too
Hmm.
short. But that was more the I think that was more of a sales associate issue than it was a factory issue.
And were you able to fix that, or did they have like the functional button cuffs?
They had the functional button cuffs.
Which
That
is
was the issue.
Oh,
and
no.
I had to I had to stretch them out by 3/4 of an inch, so they look a bit odd. They're not terrible, but at some point, I think
It's not perfect.
yeah, I might
Yeah,
send them
nobody's
to I might
perfect.
send them to Invisible Men at some point, and
Okay.
fix it that way.
Well, I mean, other than that, they sound really cool. I know Spencer has gotten some Spier Mackay chinos.
After we recorded the episode, because I was on their website and I was like, "Oh my god, they have high-rise chinos for $50," and I ordered a pair, and I've worn them so much already.
So much. I'm honestly looking at them too. But I might use that same money and get a pair of Stofa made to measure trousers. Trousers?
Trousers.
Trousers.
Yes, not
Chaucer.
pants, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we'll see. I emailed Stofa if they had dark brown cotton moleskin in stock and how much it was. And so if it's a reasonable price, and by that I mean like $300, then I will do that because I really like their stuff. I really
Right.
like their aesthetic.
Yes.
But
One
yeah,
last,
thanks for telling us about Spier Mackay.
one last,
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
one last
well,
thing, if I
you
may,
guys-
about Spier Mackay, and I think
Yeah.
their main selling point for MTM, it's their main selling point above the customization options is the fabric selection. That's what really drew them.
Oh yeah,
drew me-
what
drew
fabrics
them
do they
to me.
use?
They have access to everything that Huddersfield Limited makes. So they have
Oh wow.
all the frescoes, English flannels, English tweeds, Harris tweeds.
Oh,
If you're an
damn.
Anglophile, this is heaven, basically. They have a best
And you
selection.
know
Damn,
we
now
are.
I want to go up to.
Yeah, that's what.
I'm gonna drive up to Toronto.
There you
Yeah,
go.
drive across. That's
Well, that's
Mhm.
super cool. I think we're probably going to, if I'm ever in Toronto, which I hope is sometime soon, within like the year or so.
yeah. Well,
I would love
Road
that.
trip.
Road. Nope. Probably gonna fly. But yeah, I think we're gonna take a quick break right now, and then we'll get back with our main topic. We'll be right back with some style direction. All right, guys. Hi, welcome back to Style and Direction. Oh, I thought Spencer would say like last time, a menswear podcast without the
A
stuffiness.
Menswear podcast without stuffy.
There we go. There it is. There it is. So today we're going to be discussing the concept of having a uniform. Now, I know this is not, wearing a polo shirt and khakis at a Christian school.
Ooh, callback.
Yeah, callback. But, a lot of guys today that I found is that guys have a uniform. Not
yeah.
everyone dresses in a different way every single day. I know that, and we can get into me later on in detail, but I try and wear something a little bit different every day. Whether it's doing something Ivy, doing something 30s, or going for some minimalistic streetwear-ish kind of thing on the weekends. But I try and do something different. But
And I try to do one nice thing for myself every day.
there you
Twin
go.
Peaks.
I've never
Check
seen
it
it,
out.
but
I've seen like 5 episodes.
I love David. Is that David Lynch?
It's David Lynch.
Love it. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen anything by David Lynch. Wait, have I? No,
No.
I haven't. No, I'm thinking of David Fincher.
right.
But anyway, but the fact remains that a lot of guys tend to default to uniform, and it's no fault on them. It's not. They're not saying that they're not creative, but it's just
I
because
mean, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
it makes things kind of familiar. But
Mhm.
our guest, last time we talked, he did say that he had a uniform, so I thought it'd be very fitting that we kind of discuss it with him.
Fitting.
And he,
Close.
yeah,
Yes.
Taylor.
Very punny. Very punny.
There we go. But you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but you have 3 suits from Spier Mackay. You got brown, gray, and navy blue. right.
Not navy. It's lighter than that. Air Force, I suppose.
Oh.
I actually really like the color.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
But yes, I have those 3 suits, and as I mentioned earlier, I cycle through them, taking the trousers from
Right.
one, the jacket from the other, vice versa, and that's how I dress. That's how I've been dressing for the past
right.
few months.
So, you said that you go for an Ivy look, but like, what exactly what comprises your actual uniform each day? Like, what are the pieces you put in and change out or whatever besides the suits?
I switch out shirts. I switch out sweaters.
Hmm.
Some,
And what is there a lot of them? Like, do you have like different variations of patterns
Ye-
on those shirts?
Um, on the shirts, yes, definitely. I've got gingham checks, I've got window pane checks, I've got the university stripes. Do you call them university stripes? Bengal stripes, I think would be a better
Yes.
term for them. Uh, yeah,
I just say stripes, whatever.
Yeah.
I say university stripe to refer to a specific type of striped shirt
right. Yeah, the
because I'm knowledgeable.
yes, you are, Spencer. Yes, you are.
Thanks.
Right. Yes, I have a lot of button-down shirts, mainly from Brooks Brothers actually. I know they're very expensive regularly, but they have a lot of sales, and they can go 40-50% off, and I usually pick them up then. But I have a lot of button-down shirts, almost entirely button-down shirts actually. I think I can count the number of point colors I've got in one hand. Level button-downs these days.
So really quick, I think that we should go into more detail about what exactly we mean by a personal uniform and kind of like why a lot of guys are drawn to it, because we kind of mentioned it, but we didn't really get too deeply into that.
Right.
Get deep, Spence.
Yep. Steer us back on
Thanks.
track, fella.
So when we talk about personal uniform, I in preparation for this, I was reading a lot of different articles from various publications, some focused on fashion, some not, about the concept of having a personal uniform. One thing I noticed across the board, they basically all mentioned Steve Jobs, who who always wore the turtleneck and his 501s basically every day for like 20-30 years. I don't think we're necessarily talking about that specific, like that very strict definition of personal uniform. Am I right here?
Yes.
No, that's what I want to wear every day. So
Right.
Okay. I mean, I can't see you wearing that outfit, Ethan. So
I mean, I think there is a picture of me wearing a light wash denim with a turtleneck somewhere.
But another thing almost all these articles mentioned was the quote from Obama from a couple of years ago, where he says that he always wears like dark navy suits because that's one less decision he has to deal with.
Yes, it's the whole issue of decisional fatigue, right? And avoiding that in the morning.
Yeah, and that one I can kind of get, but it's still, I've never really thought that picking out clothes was that big a deal.
Right. But Aldous, is that hold true for you? I know, as a university student, you must have other responsibilities.
Yes, and I live.
And
I live a fair ways away from campus, so a lot of times I have to be out of the house by 7:30 in the morning. And university students, I probably sleep at like 1. Still a bit. 1, 2. So I'm a lot.
So do you think that that's why you started doing it? Is that, or what other reasons do you have for like sticking with that uniform, of just interchanging, trousers and jackets?
Yeah, because really quick, what we're talking about uniform, and we might have already mentioned this, uniform, as in you wear a similar thing every day.
Yeah.
That's just kind of your
look. And that's right, because I do wear a very similar thing every day. It's the same. It's jacket or trousers, crew neck, button down. Just switching up the colours and patterns depending on how I feel to an extent, but mainly on what's...
How much fun do I want to have?
Actually, it's dependent mainly on what's fresh and hasn't been worn yet that week.
Oh, the practical way of
practical way of doing it.
Oh, I literally can't wear that because it's dirty in the laundry. I guess I can't wear that.
And it really does stem from lack of time. The decisional fatigue issue that Obama's case brings up. I just don't want to think that much about it in the mornings. Yes.
Because I definitely get that, because I have class. On Mondays and Wednesdays, my classes start at 7:45. I have to wake up at around 6:15, 6:30 at the latest. Shower, have something quick for breakfast, and leave. And most of the time, I just do not give a shit. I do not want to deal with staring at my closet, thinking, "Oh, what am I gonna wear?" So, the way my closet is arranged is it's kind of split down the middle by a support thing. So on one half of the supports, that's where I keep all my or at least a lot of my suits and my dress shirts. On the other half, I have my casual jackets, my casual shirts, and then my pants. And here's what I do almost every single day when I'm going to class. My jeans are on the floor from the day before because I wear jeans almost every day. I grab a random shirt from my casual shirt stack, and if it's cold, I grab I grab a jacket. And what's nice about the way that I have it set up is it's a very similar, it's well kind of a similar look every day. It's always like a sport shirt or a work shirt with a casual jacket. Is I don't have to think about, is this going to look good together, because I intentionally buy everything to make sure it looks good with jeans and then like casual jackets that are usually brown or maybe blue. So that's how I take the thinking out of it. I just kind of have a lot of stuff that I know for a fact looks good together, and that's how I shop.
Yeah, that's a wise way to shop, I'd say. And it's a similar situation for me as well. I've got the suits hanging behind the door. I've got shirts in the small closet that I do have. I've got sweaters folded up on the chair I have at the foot of my bed, and just grab one of each from each area. Coats on the way out. The hat's in the pocket already. Gloves. And yes, out the door.
I think that context plays a big deal here, though, because you guys are both students. You guys don't have a lot of time. You're gonna be leaving for maybe your day job, or go into class and then gotta do something else. And I think I can't speak for Aldous, but I know Spencer sometimes will modify the outfit if he's got work later on that day.
Yeah. Usually, if I have
time.
work, because it's like also Mondays and Wednesdays. Usually, I have work like right after class.
Right. So you.
And so in
Just
that
tie,
case,
I guess, right?
What was that?
You just keep a tie in your bag or satchel rolled up.
Basically, yeah. I leave my tie in my car, and it's like I usually just wear, it's usually the chinos now, the Spier Mackay chinos. With like white Converse and like whatever shirt I'm wearing to work, just the sleeves rolled up and like collar open, stuff like that.
Yes.
The reason why I bring up context is because I definitely don't have that, that whole like urgency, or one less thing to think of.
Well, because you also lay out your outfits like for the entire week.
That's true. So for me, and again adding a little context here, so because I work at a menswear job, I literally have the freedom to wear whatever the hell I want. And usually what I want is dressed up, so it's not like I'm wearing like ripped jeans or anything. But I do lay out what I'm going to wear just based on like what I want to talk about. And usually I guess that's because, again, my context is I'm a blogger. I like to write about stuff, and, as I pick items out of my closet, I think of, okay, what will pop out to me, and maybe if I'll pick out like, oh, I really want to wear the sweater, and I think, oh, I haven't written about the sweater, maybe I'll write about that, or I think like what this week is, I was writing about beanies, which will probably come up in like 2 weeks because I've got other stuff coming out, but I'm intentionally wearing a lot of like tweed plaid jackets with flannels, just so I can say, oh, look, you can wear beanies or toques, whatever you want to call them, with tailoring, as long as it's more rugged. Obviously they go a lot with jeans and chinos, but with tailoring it's got to have that kind of rougher, more I guess functional use out of it. But again, that kind of dictated what I guess the uniform for that week is, but there are times when my attire doesn't really always follow that, like sometimes when I don't have a blog post, I'll just wear like random shit that I'm like, I kind of feel like wearing a cotton suit today. I'll wear open collar this day. I'll wear a bow tie this day. So I don't really have that whole like.
Even when you're not like writing about the outfit and you're not being as intentional, I mean, it sounds like there's not really much specific that you tend to gravitate to.
At least not for that. I mean, there are some days when say like if I'm going to be what do you call it, like if I like on a Sunday, and usually I get home Sunday, maybe like midnight at the latest, but sometimes it takes me a long time to figure out what I'm wearing that week, and sometimes it doesn't. But there are some days where I get home super late on Sunday and I don't have time, and Monday morning I just have to go out the door. And at that point, I usually, like Spencer said, I usually pick like a pair of chinos if it's summertime. If it's like now when it's more winter, I'd probably pick up my gray trousers, and then I'd pick any random shirt. Honestly, will work with chinos and like either a navy or brown jacket, like like all just mentioned earlier. And then of course I'll probably pick a striped tie just so I don't have to think about the foulards, because with my foulards and prints it's a little bit harder because there are varying degrees of size and scale.
Yeah.
And those are a little bit more intentional, but my rep ties and my stripes tend to go with everything. But that doesn't happen that often for me. Usually if I'm going to pick chinos and a jacket, it's usually something intentional and because I want to wear that tie or I want to wear that shirt. And,
so because I mean I think that you would agree that at least in terms of your shirt and ties you kind of have a uniform that you have talked extensively about.
Yeah, it's striped ties and patterned shirts. And again, of course if you look at the fine details, they're going to be different. Like there's different variations of stripes. I don't have all Bengal, all university. I don't have all OCBDs and all point collars. There's different variations of each. There's some that are contrast collar. There's some that are a little bit shorter. And then with ties, you've got like straight foulage. You've got like big medallion prints. You've got like ones that are kind of like splattered all over the place. And even with rep ties, you've got again different variations of scaling and colors and whatnot. But like you said, yeah, that's true. I do have that uniform. I'm almost always wearing a striped shirt and a pattern tie. There's never a time when I'm not.
On your story a couple of weeks ago, you were joking about like creating like the Ethan like shirt collection, and you would like sell like 2 shirts. Like one of them would be blue stripe.
True. Yeah, it would be like a blue stripe spear point, or just a blue stripe shirt, and then that would literally be. I mean, other than what's the other? What's the caveat to that? Like a plain blue chambray. I don't know. Like, yeah, but So I guess so. I do have like that would be like my uniform. I always pick something blue, and I do find myself gravitating towards a shirt that has blue in it and a tie that has blue in it. I do have red stripes, green stripes, or whatever, but I feel like a blue is always like the more superior choice or the best choice. And I think for me it's like
yes. Because some colors are inherently superior to other colors.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I mean, like it takes a lot of thought to try and make a green striped shirt work, because I feel like if I wore like a burgundy tie, I feel like it's getting a little bit too close into Christmas attire.
Yeah, because I mean, I tell customers all the time, like at Men's Warehouse, we sell like there are like 2 striped shirts basically. I don't know why we don't sell a lot of striped shirts. Are striped shirts just like out right now?
No, okay, so
or is it just like Men's Warehouse is like 2-3 years behind? So.
I mean, even at where I work at Ascot Chang, we sell I think way more checks than stripes. I think it's basically checks and solids over stripes any day.
I think,
but yeah, I mean, we have like a couple striped shirts, and I always recommend those to customers because I say they go with everything, especially blue stripes. So I think again, that's just kind of like it looks good, and it's kind of taken out one decision.
If I may add a few things here.
Yeah.
I think checked shirts are generally easier to pair without a tie. That's my personal opinion, and you can beg to differ.
Oh yeah,
and that is probably why people wear them.
Yes, that's why I do wear checked shirts more often than university stripes. And
that's why I never wear check shirts.
Because you always have a tie on.
Yeah, and if I'm going to be dressed down, I just don't wear a button-up shirt.
Right.
That's kind of just how it works.
Right.
But, I think this is kind of a little off topic, but I think the reason why striped shirts aren't used is because of how inherently old school they look, which is why I wear them, to have that, and I say it all the time, to have a vintage look, you need a striped shirt and a pattern tie. Like, that automatically looks old school. Not just to, 30s looks, but just in general.
Also,
and that's probably why people don't do that.
Also, if I could go on a bit of a tangent as well, briefly. Gingham shirts, did they exist in the 30s? Were they around?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a great picture, I think Spencer posted a long time ago. I don't know if it was in the Facebook group, but there's a guy wearing, if it's not like a gingham shirt, it's definitely like a plaid shirt. And it's a spear point wearing with like a herringbone tweed suit, and it looks badass.
Yeah, because I mean, generally, like check shirts were. I could be talking out of my ass right now, but I believe that check shirts were more often worn as like casual shirts or like sport shirts, but striped shirts were definitely worn more. But they existed. Check shirts existed and gingham shirts existed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I also have a few like 30s shirts that have like a deco print on them. So, like these, youth fashion-y shirts did exist back in the day.
A third.
But to get
back on track.
What were we saying, Aldous? Yeah.
A foot.
Yeah, I've. This
Yeah,
is the
crosstalk.
worst.
Should we go all
Crosstalk,
continue
yeah.
going off on a tangent? Yeah, just go back and track. It's fine.
No, just go ahead. Aldous, what were you saying?
Dot print shirts. I have a blue Oxford with white dots on it, and I kind of like that actually. And those
That's
were
fun.
yeah.
That's
I
a
kinda
that's a
want that.
fun shirt.
Yeah.
I know Drake's has one that I was like, oh, I could wear that, but also I'm like, I probably wouldn't wear it as much as like if I got a chambray button down or something like that. But the point I wanted to make was that when it comes to uniform, I definitely have a casual uniform because I find
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that.
yeah, okay, so I'm sure that the listeners know that I don't wear suits all the time. Like, yeah, I wear them like 5 days a week, but if I'm going on a date, if I'm hanging out with my friends, I am almost immediately change after work. And casual wear is still something that I'm experimenting with, and it takes a lot more thought to do just because of, again, how drastic I can make it. You know, like with Ivy, transitioning from Ivy to vintage isn't that hard for me, especially because the Ivy I like is a little bit older, and if I want to do like a more 30s look, I just, maybe get a bolder tie. But with casual wear, it's so all over the place. It's like, do I want to do a 40s casual look? Do I want to do workwear look? Do I want to do minimal SLP? And that is it takes a lot of thought, again, with the decision fatigue, as we mentioned earlier. And with that, I definitely have a uniform. Like if I'm going to do SLP, and again, it has different context, but like SLP is basically like Chelsea boots and black jeans, and then, a Hawaiian shirt or some kind of loop collar shirt, and like that's done. And I have like a few options to just kind of swap out for that. If I'm gonna do workwear, it's probably chore coat with denim and something, either like a t-shirt or whatever. Like, and I have almost all my t-shirts are some form of like white or gray, and they have stripes. Maybe there's like a small print on it, but it's always plain. I just swap that out.
You don't have any like fun pop culture graphic tees?
Oh yeah, then I have got that, which is
I
like
haven't got a single one
like
of
kind of
those.
like.
But you just sleep in those, right? You don't wear them out?
Well, pop culture ones, no, but like if we're talking like graphic tees, I definitely have a few like 70s and 80s and maybe.
Oh,
like
okay,
early
those are
90s
fun.
ones.
Those are fun.
And those, it's kind of similar to SLP, but it's more of like I'm going for like a 70s 80s look, a little bit updated, where I wear like a shirt that has some kind of minimal print or like minimal graphic on it, and I'll tuck that into like black jeans or light wash jeans, and then wear them with like Vans, and then maybe I'll add a jacket over it, maybe I won't. And then now I find myself wearing a beanie all the time because I kind of felt
cool.
like I looked a little bit off, or this might just be me personally, but without adding that extra thing, I felt like it was missing something, and wearing the beanie kind of adds to that whole like slouch look.
Right.
Which I get into on the blog post that you'll see eventually. But yeah, I do have a uniform for casual stuff. I just swap out stuff, and it's probably just because I only have a few pairs of casual pants. It's usually just black jeans or light wash jeans, because I typically use my indigo jeans for either workwear specifically or for tailoring. But then the only thing that changes are really the shirt, and the shirts really aren't that different from each other. And then the shoes, again, are also not that different. They're all very plain. There's not as many pieces as shirt, striped shirt, which color striped shirt, which tie, and whatever. And, if we think about it, and I know Spencer can bring up some articles, but I think that's why some guys kind of do it, because,
Limited
if you
wardrobe.
limit the options that you have, it's way easier to mix and match.
Yeah. And
that's-
that's literally the point I was about to bring up, because
Yeah.
I kind of mentioned this before when I was talking about my casual wardrobe. And this is not necessarily like a personal uniform thing, but I remember a couple weeks ago, I watched a video that was Bruce Boyer, menswear writer, is launching a capsule collection of shirts, and he said
Morale, right?
when designing it,
with Morale, it's not.
Yeah, it's Morale, yeah.
Yeah, so he was talking about when designing it, he wanted it to be, you could like, or I can't remember if he was talking about this specifically design process or just his personal philosophy of fashion was like he wants it to be so you can get dressed in the dark and leave like knowing that you look good, like very confident. And that's not something that I necessarily want for my entire wardrobe, but something that I was talking about in the last episode about my kind of journalist Spencer outfits. That's kind of how it is now, and I kind of want to keep that going, where I can just grab random pieces throw them on and be like, okay, I'm like, I'm semi-professional.
Yeah, to be pleased with what
because
you're wearing. Even.
yeah, exactly. Because it's like like when I get a real job writing, I'm probably not going to be wearing a whole lot of suits because most journalists dress like shit, and I don't want to.
Especially in in Southern California.
Yeah, and exactly, and I don't want to rock the boat too much or be that guy or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of just having like not necessarily a minimalist wardrobe, but like such a well-defined aesthetic that you could just grab whatever and you're good.
That's pretty. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's because I like trying to be creative and forcing myself to pick from random stuff, and it's also because I love having a lot of shit.
Yeah.
The endearing things about it.
But
the endearing things about a
ahead,
minimalist wardrobe would be it's twofold. You save a lot of time if you're in a hurry and you have to run out of the house in a hurry by having a minimalist wardrobe that works well. The pieces work well with each other. You can just grab it and go, and also you save a hell of a lot of money by just.
Oh yeah.
That's definitely true. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that capsule wardrobes have been around for a long time, but I feel like in the past like 7 years, they've been very popular, and I'm guessing that it's because of the rise of popularity of menswear blogs.
Yeah.
And this is something that we'll have to discuss another time. But the menswear blogs kind of turn into this whole lifestyle thing, which I don't like because it dilutes the content and it makes it less good, in my opinion. But I think it's because guys are so desperate to finding an easy way to dress up that they just don't care. They don't want to have to think about it. And it's so easy for these bloggers to kind of just come up with this stuff because when you look at it, it's basically all the same. Like these guys kind of reiterate the same things over and over again. It's always like, oh, for summer, like khaki shorts and a couple of blue and white button ups, and that's it. And it's great for guys who don't care, but I feel like you're missing out on some of the creativity, and something that I've had to recognize over the past my short blogging career is that guys, they don't want to be creative. They want to be told what to do.
Yep.
And I guess that's what makes my blog so niche. That's why it resonates with people who don't have that. But especially when I started, I would get questions back on Tumblr when I would just post on Tumblr only, did not have Instagram, did not have anything else. They would ask, "Hey, what suit should I start out with?" And I'm like, "Buddy, I don't know," because like my first vintage suit was like a brown flannel, and I did not even have like a navy suit because, and I think we talked about this before, but like with vintage, there's no seasons. It's whatever the vintage store happens to find or whatever.
Yeah, because
whatever.
Because if you don't buy it then, there's a good chance you'll never ever get a chance to get it.
Exactly. So I didn't start off with like that, and so it's never been in my personal journey to have a capsule wardrobe or a uniform, until very recently. And even then, it doesn't even apply to like my suiting. It just applies to other stuff.
Yeah.
But I can see why this concept is such a big deal to people, and it's kind of cool, like Spencer said, having a defined aesthetic that people can recognize you for. But personally, I feel like you do lose out a little bit on the creativity, and that's probably just me.
Well, this is not necessarily the maybe not necessarily the personal uniform thing, but more along the lines of the minimalist capsule wardrobe.
Right.
So the stuff that like Aldous does, or when we name drop time, when we talked to Kenji at Inspiration.
Oh yeah.
He was talking about how Ethan Newton doesn't really have a whole lot of like he
to
doesn't
be
have.
fair, he said he has like 7 suits, and I'm like, well. I mean,
okay.
I have more suits.
So he
than,
said, okay,
does,
so
yeah.
just let's pretend that Kenji didn't lie to us. He said that Ethan Newton didn't have a whole lot of like individual pieces, but he just like mixes and matches them a whole lot.
Right.
So it's like you could argue that in that case there is a lot of creativity involved, because like what can I do new with this? Like what can I do new with these same 7 pieces?
Right. Yeah, I think that's true, and I think having a bespoke wardrobe definitely helps with that, though. Like, for us, it's like, oh, I had to buy this gray tweed suit even though I live in LA because I'm never going to see it again. But then you can't wear it, so then you spend your time waiting for a gray summer suit or something like that, which is, I think, is the reason why my wardrobe is so large. Like, if I was able to kind of pick and choose, like, yeah, I'd probably only have a couple of trousers, a couple of brown suits, but because, things happen so randomly, I guess I didn't have to, but, by my own personal choice, I decided to have a huge wardrobe.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, even with the fact that when you buy vintage, you can't pick and choose, and thus it's almost impossible to build a minimalist wardrobe, because you don't you don't know from day to day what you're going to find, and you can't plan it out.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's basically it.
It's one
But
of the
I
things
will also.
It's one of the things that's pushed me away from vintage, to be honest. It's not being able to plan. I like planning things in advance.
Yeah.
Having a list of things I need, finding gaps in my wardrobe, and then plugging them when I get the money. I really like that for you.
Yeah, and I just threw away a Band-Aid. I wasn't being used, but that's probably what the crinkling, if you were listening, that's what you heard.
Nice.
But no, I when you say pulling away from vintage, I think that's exactly why I started to pull away from vintage. Obviously, I still thrift. Actually, I haven't thrifted in a while, but I still buy like sack suits. I still buy sack jackets and whatnot, but I've been trying to get more contemporary, like trying to thrift Ralph Lauren as opposed to thrifting 30s, because it's easier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I'm still getting all my stuff, quote unquote, like vintage on eBay, but it's so much, as Lee said, it's so much easier to go on eBay and get like a 70s or 80s suit that like kind of fits what you're looking for, rather than wait for that 80-year-old suit to come along.
Right. Because I mean, the fact still remains that vintage suits are still heavier, even though they're better made, they're still, the fabric's still a bit different, they're not as fine. And while I don't like ultra fine stuff, I don't want a summer suit that's still a little too heavy.
Yeah, like a 14 ounce more than the summer. No, you can't
exactly. So being able to get some of the basics, and I think Spencer and I have been both doing this. It's like, now that we've kind of gone past vintage menswear a little bit, we're trying to get those basics that we never could get before.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I still don't have linen trousers because at first it was like, I'm gonna wait till I find a good pair, and I don't want to buy a modern pair, but now I'm like, well, I'm just gonna buy some from like Ralph Lauren, which kind of fit both aesthetics, and I can still wear them. But yeah, that's kind of a different topic, but yeah.
Guys, I'm going to pose a question to you. It might be a bit of a digression.
Sure.
But, have you guys ever given thought to the idea of your ideal wardrobe? Let's say blank slate, blank check, build a wardrobe, go. What's in it?
Oh fuck.
I've thought about this a few times. So I think that it would basically be an extension of like what you've got going on. Brown suit, gray suit, blue suit. And honestly, I'd probably wear, the brown and blue way more often. And if I could design exactly what was on them, then yeah, I think I'd just have 3 suits, But I would probably supplement that with like, some chinos, maybe like some cords as well, and some odd jackets, again, probably in brown checks or houndstooth, similar to what I tend to wear now. And then just have a whole bunch of ties, and then have a couple of copies of blue striped shirts and red striped shirts, and I think that would round out my wardrobe.
Copies of blue striped shirts? You like them that much that you have several blue striped shirts?
Well, again, variations
different stripes or different collar,
button down, club collar, contrast spear point, contrast club collar. Just having shirts and ties are. If you look at my wardrobe, how I exude my personality, mostly, I think. Obviously, I have a lot of statement pieces.
I think that's true
in
for
my
most
wardrobe.
of us. We can't. I mean,
that is true. Yeah. So that would be my ideal wardrobe, and again, it would probably have a lot of patch pockets, belt back. Well, yeah. I don't think I would probably think about belt backs. But
at this point, I think you're just like
describing my own wardrobe.
Well, I mean, okay, was the point of the question to be like it has to be like a minimalist wardrobe, or is it like go nuts, don't like donuts, just have whatever?
Well, I was hoping in asking this question that we all end up steering towards a minimalist wardrobe because I think one of the
Okay, well let me
Yeah, so
rephrase it
Ethan,
then. Okay.
I'll answer in a second, but yeah, Ethan, let's hear your
Okay.
if someone
Well,
put a
again,
gun to your head.
it would be again the 3 suits and then maybe like a brown check jacket.
Mm.
And I think that would do it. And again, the only reason I have a whole bunch of stuff is because I wanted, a brown suit with patch pockets. I wanted a brown 3-roll 2 suit. And again, because I thrift stuff, or eBay or whatever, like things don't always line up the way you want them to.
Yeah.
Like I was able to get a summer suit, but it's 2-button, so it doesn't really have that Ivy thing, so you find ways to get new stuff. And because it's so cheap compared to buying like one bespoke piece, I just happen to have multiple of similar shade suits, or to the naked eye it would just be a brown suit, but I can see the differences.
Right. Yeah, we all
And,
can.
like,
I'm sure.
but that's
We all
why I
can.
have such a big wardrobe, you
Yeah.
know. So like if I was Ethan Newton and I was able to design every aspect of it, I would probably have a similar wardrobe to his.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And then I
So,
would supplement that with crazy
so,
stuff.
Ethan, would you
like
say that if you
workwear.
had, so Ethan, if you had complete control over your wardrobe, would you say that your wardrobe overall would be smaller? It would definitely be smaller. It might still be large by comparison to others fellows, but it would be smaller than what you.
Yeah, no, it would definitely be a lot smaller than it is now. Like a lot of the stuff I get are just kind of statement stuff, like my Kamoshida suit that I wear as a green odd jacket. And honestly, I don't need it, but I like having the green odd jacket more than I like having the green suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would definitely be a lot smaller if I was picking it and if I was very conscious. Because even then, now, like looking at my giant wardrobe behind me, I don't wear everything so often, and a part of that is the cut, the shoulder padding or whatever. But sometimes I just default. Oh, I guess I just default to wearing these these jackets, these sack suits, and the sack cut stuff. So again, this is an ideal world where all just lets me puts a gun to my head, so I don't know exactly.
Put a
And
gun to your head. I just got- I gave you a
let's
blank
talk about
check.
this
Yeah.
after. Let's talk
Yeah.
about this in a second. But you were talking about like, how you were talking about like the fact that you would tend to again, kind of like you don't wear everything and you kind of wear the same things a lot.
Yeah.
We can talk about that because that was a point that showed up in a lot of articles about personal uniforms.
Give us an example for you then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your turn, Spencer. I suppose.
Oh, stuff that I tend to wear a lot.
Well, yeah, like stuff that isn't necessarily versatile, but you find yourself wearing it a lot.
Oh, well, that would just be like brown items in general, like this. So recently, like I have 2 closets. One of them is in what used to be a guest room, and it is now just kind of like we have our printer in their room. There's a closet over there that I keep a lot of my either out of season suits or just stuff that I don't really necessarily to wear to work. And so I recently kind of brought everything that I wouldn't wear to work to the back closet, and what's left now in my closet is mostly brown.
Because that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because it's like I was gonna say like if I had to choose a capsule wardrobe, it would just be basically what you said. For the first 3 items, they would all be cut like the 1950s Brooks Brothers sack suits. So in gray, brown, and blue, and then I would have like brown check sport coats. So basically same answer, I guess.
Yeah.
See, I on that same note, I've been trying to to get a better understanding of what my wardrobe actually is. I've been bringing up a lot of my stuff into one room, because before I would have like my regular wardrobe in my closet and I had a bunch of free space. Then I got a rack to put my vintage clothes, like my 1930s and 40s stuff, because I would keep those separately, because I didn't consider them everyday wear.
Yeah.
I'd bring that up with me, and being able to look at everything makes you realize how big it was. And I actually tried to scale down. I sold off some stuff I didn't wear for very very cheaply, way less than what I bought it for. But it's because I'd rather it being worn by somebody else than me burning a hole in my closet, making the poor support beam die. you know.
Mhm.
And again, there's still a lot of stuff I don't wear on there. A lot of it is mainly vintage stuff that I got from a long time ago that I still can't part with, but I definitely have a few jackets that I default to wearing, and again, they're all very pretty much brown.
Yep.
I think it's basically if I even dress it down further, it would probably be a lot of brown jackets and gray trousers. Like
Mhm.
that's probably the most stuff I wear. I do like the navy jacket, with the gray trousers, which tie into the topic is what they call the style form uniform. I think is
Yeah.
it's
Well,
called
the
I think
dress
or the
stuff's
menswear
not
uniform.
right? There's the casual one with desert boots and that sort of.
Yeah, but like it's basically a navy jacket with I'm assuming I think it's a blue striped shirt I think and gray flannels. Which is true, but I like to call my Ethan uniform is the brown jacket or some brown check jacket with gray flannels and then loafers or whatever, and that
And
would
then
be.
and
my
then
uniform.
mine would be like a brown jacket with either khakis or like cream pants. Especially during the summer, I tend
Oh,
to
yeah.
wear cream. I'm currently actually browsing eBay for higher waisted versions of mine. Um, but yeah, cream flannels I wear all the time. That's my uniform, baby.
Cream flannels in the summer
There we
too.
go.
Yours. What?
Cream flannels
Well,
in the summer.
light.
Oh wait, not cream
ones.
flannels, cream linens. That's my bad.
Right.
I misspoke.
Right.
You misspoke.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's I think that's pretty good.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
I mean, I like wearing cream pants, but I definitely wear gray ones more. I think I need to have, if you're gonna get cream pants, cream summer pants, I need to get gray summer pants,
Mhm.
and then we'll both be wearing our uniform
Right.
in the summer.
Right.
Perfect.
Um.
Well, I think that's, unless anyone else has got something to say, I think we've pretty much hit the nail on the head there. I think that was a pretty good discussion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Any just final points? Any free floating thoughts? Anybody?
Aldous?
No, we've been on this for an hour and 45 minutes already. Yes, I think it's about time we wrap it up.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I think it's good.
Well, how about we just go? How about we just go
there's-
across and like talk about whether or not we necessarily agree with the idea of having like a personal uniform, or if we think that we have one.
Yeah, why don't Aldous you start, because I think that you do.
Yes, I
Rude. I'm kidding.
well, no, it's true. I definitely have a personal uniform. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't have a personal uniform out of aesthetic choice per se. We talked about that earlier. For me, it's more about convenience, just about stuff I know works well that I can grab in a hurry and be out the door quickly. If I had more time on my hands, I'd probably make more interesting outfits. But I think the big takeaway from this is ultimately everyone has a uniform. If we zoom back enough, everyone's got basic items that they fall back on.
Oh yeah.
No one's different on all levels. You can't be combinatorial explosion. You'd never be able to manage that. So everyone's got a uniform of some sort. It just depends on what level. You have some guys who
Yeah.
are Steve Jobs
Right.
with one outfit for every day of the year. I've got some who've got 10 outfits in rotation, but it's still 10 outfits in rotation.
Oh yeah, okay. Spencer, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with most of the points there. Like I said, I definitely have a uniform when it comes to casual wear, and my, I guess you could call it semi-formal, business casual, whatever. And yeah, I tend to gravitate to, if not the exact same items, then items that are similar to what I like. The same kinds of ties, the same kinds of shirts, the same kinds of jackets, stuff like that. So I'd say that I'm not one of the people that wear the exact same outfit every day, but I'd say that I kind of have a uniform in that, like, I wear very similar things a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I guess I
did-
started out thinking that I didn't really have a uniform because I wear something pretty different. But again, like Aldous said, if you move back, then yeah, I definitely do. I do wear gray trousers a lot. I wear brown jackets a lot. I do wear blue striped shirts a lot. And especially with casual wear, like we said, making it sound easy. And I think Aldous said this too, but like a big reason why we repeat it is because it's tried and true. Like we know it looks good, and that's
Yeah.
it's not just the fact that it's passable. It's the fact that it like, hey, this is good. I don't want to worry about being unsure or not having confidence in what I'm wearing. And I think that's a big thing that we kind of touched on a little bit, but it definitely applies to me when I'm doing casual stuff. Because again, casual for me is still kind of new, and it's something that I'm still experimenting with, and I don't want to experiment too hard because people notice mistakes. I guess to me, I think people notice mistakes more than they realize.
Oh yeah.
More than like a successful outfit. I think a successful outfit is something that no one notices, I guess. But yeah, I definitely do have a uniform, and I think it's really important that people, I guess, develop it. And then I think once you have it, I think you should feel free to expand. And I think some people stop at the uniform, which is good for them. But if you're thinking that you want to try something new, I think that you definitely should. That's just the essence of fashion, I think. I think Spencer and I talk about sometimes how when people say like, "Oh, I'm into fashion," but then they don't look like they are. Like it's like, I think people need a little bit more creativity.
Yeah.
And that's just me being personal because again, fashion and menswear mean different things to different people.
I think the idea is
but yeah.
I think the idea is you have to balance the best of both worlds. You always want to be in a position where you have those the 2 or 3 outfits that you can fall back on and put on in the dark, and you're fine. But you don't want to stop there. You also want to have an odd jacket that you just commissioned that you're excited to wear and put together.
Yeah. I think that's very good. That's a very good point. So yeah, there we go. So guys, thank you for listening. Thank you for making it this far. This is probably the longest episode we've had thus far. But I think the discussion was really good. Before we get into the plugs, I just want to remind everyone to leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to call it, because it would really help us out, and we will get back to reading them as soon as we get more of them.
Yeah.
But it really does help us out because, yeah, definitely. So Aldous, I know that you're not really, you're not a blogger, you're just a student.
No, I really not active on social media in capacity.
Okay, so I don't assume that you have like an Instagram that you want to plug, but is there anything that you do want to shout out?
Just like literally anything.
Yeah, could be like a cool book you read that people think that people should read, or.
Yeah, you've talked about Amateur and how good a book that is in the past. I actually haven't.
Damn it, we talk about that like every episode.
You do.
It's such a great book. For your birthday, I'm gonna
I don't have
mine.
I don't have that book, so
God.
I haven't read it yet. But I've seen on coffee tables. I really want to read that book. But I've got nothing.
Oh, there we go. There's our tradition of plugging Amitora. In like the past 5 episodes.
Right. I'm sure it's great. It's come out in the past. It's been in the past 5 podcasts. That must speak for something. In terms of something that I suppose I would like to plug though. It's Spier Mackay makes up the majority of my wardrobe, so I suppose I must.
Yep.
Man, they owe us a lot of money for this one.
Yeah, I must pay some deference to them. Yeah, they make very good product for their price points. Am I going to give them? Am I going to give them a resounding endorsement? I don't think so. They have. They have issues as far as customer service and reliability is concerned, and I'm sure they're
spicy.
And I'm sure there are people on staff room and on the internet who can attest to that. So they have their issues, but the fundamentals, their factory, their production, it's good, very very solid. It's just for me, it's a pity that they couldn't get the rest of their stuff together. If they did, they would be head and shoulders above the crowd, and the company that I would recommend wholeheartedly. But at the moment, I suppose I can only give them at best a tentative recommendation. Try at your own. Try at some risk, I suppose. But if it does come out, it'll come out fantastic.
Well, I mean, Spencer has pants, and I'm considering pants from them too.
Yeah,
so
pretty good. That's one of my plugs, I guess.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer, go ahead and plug some stuff.
Check out my Instagram, Spencer DSO. Almost at 900 followers, baby.
There you
Good job,
go.
mate.
I saw Black Panther the other night. That was pretty good. Currently
The theme
writing.
is so good, but it's the best theme since Captain America. I'm just gonna say
So
that.
fun story. So I'm writing a review of that, and also part of my review is gonna go into the is like an analysis of the racial politics, and I'm feeling very uncomfortable writing it as a middle class white dude. But
So you're plugging your essay,
I,
you're plugging your paper, among other things.
I'm not. I'm probably not going to publish it anywhere because again, this is not my lane. But I was assigned this. Here's what I will plug. Couple. So Black Panther, go check it out. Pretty good movie. Quick.
This
Check
is
out
coming
this,
out in like 2 weeks though, from the time of this. So
whatever. Check out this article that I'm using to base most of my analysis on. It's from the Boston Review, and it's called "Black Panther is Not the Movie We Deserve." And it's basically talking about how it pays lip service to the Black liberation movement, but doesn't really take any sort of meaningful stance. Also, on a less serious note, I was helping Ethan with a article about fashionable presidents, and I pulled out one of the books that I had read like a year ago and haven't really picked up since, called One Summer. It's about specifically the summer of 1927.
oh yeah, that's a good book.
It's a really, really, really good read. Whether or not, like, you don't have to be like super into, like, the 20s history or whatever, but it's very readable. The author does a really good job of like, discussing the different events that happened that summer, what they necessarily, like, what they, like, how it points to the larger culture, stuff like that. I'm just really into cultural history, so check that book out. I described it really bad, but it's good. And also, that's about it for me. Ethan, what are you into these days?
So I just finished The Good Place season 1. I'm
Hell
like
yeah.
midway through season 2, so that's really good. For the first one, watch it on Netflix. For the second one, stream it wherever you want, because I'm watching that. It's really good. Good Christian Fun again is another great podcast. That's nothing to do with fashion, but as a not really ex-Christian.
It's like a
but,
comedy podcast.
Yeah, exactly. It's really fun talking about Christian pop culture. In terms of menswear, I want to shout out Etsy because I've been buying the past 2 sack jackets that I bought were from Etsy, and they were both like $60 and $50 respectively, and they're really good. Like they're similar to the one I'm wearing right now, except they're a little bit more early 60s, so the lapels are a little bit slimmer, but the shoulders are way less padded, and the cut is a little bit straighter, so I'm going to have to get that taken in. But I've been getting some really good luck on Etsy, just because I don't really check Etsy way too much lately. It's basically been eBay and vintage stores, but not Etsy. So give that a look, guys. The prices might be a little bit higher than what you'd expect from like eBay, but if you can find something, especially like again Ivy sack suits or whatever, I think you'll be able to find some cool stuff.
Thanks Etsy for making.
By the way, Aldous, use the last 5 seconds here to come up with your own sign-off phrase for us.
Hey, really quick before you do that, I forgot to mention because I'm not sure how good his SEO is. The author of One Summer is Bill Bryson, so Google that.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Okay, so while Aldous figures out that, I just want to say, feel free to message us or email us at styleanddirection, all spelled out, at gmail.com, or find us on Instagram. My Instagram is at Ethan M. Wong. And
I'm Spencer DSO.
There you go. And Aldous, do you have a sign-off for us?
Yeah, I'll try my best, I suppose. You always...
That's all you can do.
Yeah, well, this habit of putting people in the spot at the end of the podcast.
There we go.
Anyway, I suppose I'll end with more of a wish than a proper sign-off phrase. And
I wish this podcast would be better.
No, it's not bad. It's quite good as is. I don't think it needs much improvement, mate. But it's a wish I'm sure we all have, and I hope that the flame of classic menswear continues to burn, and burns brighter with each passing year. As long as we're around, at least.
That made me feel all fuzzy inside. There we go.
Yep. like ASMR.
All right. So here's to the flame of menswear, continuing to burn. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye, my wife.
My space wife.
Did we end this the same way last episode?
Yes,
We
Yeah.
did. Oh, shit. Oh,
Same
fuck.
reference.
Say something new. Say something new, Spence.
I can only think of my wife jokes. It's been.
All right. See you guys.
Right.
Bye.
See you guys.